Has Harry Kane wasted his career, and what should he have done differently? For cheap good quality football jerseys, retro jerseys and tracksuits, go over to www.jerseyfifa.com, a link will be left in the description, and use code ATLANTISFOOTBALL for 5% off. So Harry Kane has been considered a world class striker since around 2016 or 2017, but with his failure to move away from Spurs this summer, despite his best attempts, and with him now being 28 years old, many will question whether Harry Kane has wasted his career by staying at Tottenham. Kane burst onto the scene in unusual fashion. Often we see players who go on to become world class showcase their ability in their early years, around 18, 19 or 20. However, Harry Kane did not manage to even cement himself in the Tottenham first team squad until the age of 21, as up until that age he spent most of his time out on loan at the likes of Leyton Orient, Millwall, Norwich and Leicester, before even being given a Premier League debut at the age of 20, in 2014 by Tim Sherwood. So this video is primarily based around Harry Kane at Tottenham, but if you want a greater understanding of the history of Tottenham Football Club, go check out a Football Iconics video on it. I've left it linked in the description. It's a very good video, in depth, so if you are a Tottenham fan or you just want to learn more about Tottenham, make sure you check out that video. It will be linked in the description below. The next season under Pochettino, Kane had an extended period as the side's starting centre forward in the Europa League, which saw him score 5 goals in the group stage. However, up until November, Kane hadn't started a Premier League game for Pochettino. He then came off the bench to score the winner against Norwich on November the 2nd, and from then on, Kane went on an incredible scoring run, which saw him score 21 Premier League goals for the season, and winning the PFA Player of the Season despite not starting the first 10 games of that particular season. The season after, Kane would score 25 Premier League goals, the most in the Premier League that season, and lead Tottenham to a Premier League title challenge, which would end up in them losing in dramatic circumstances to Leicester. This was a season that Kane proved his quality, with him no longer being considered a one-season wonder after improving on his debut Premier League campaign. In 2016-2017, Kane cemented himself as a world-class striker, scoring 29 goals in 30 Premier League games and 35 goals in all competitions, whilst also being the top goal scorer in the Premier League for the second season in a row, leading Tottenham to another title challenge, which they would eventually finish second in behind Antonio Conte's Chelsea. It was at this point when Kane really should have been looking for a move away from Tottenham. In 2015 he signed a 5-year contract until 2020 at the age of 22, and then extended that deal in 2016 until 2022. In 2017 this would have meant that he had 5 years left on his current contract, but at the age of 24 it was feasible that a side like Manchester United, Manchester City or Real Madrid could pay £100 million plus to sign him, particularly with the likes of Neymar, Mbappe and Ousmane Dembele all moving for fees in excess of £100 million. However, Kane's biggest mistake was in 2018 when he signed a 6-year contract with Tottenham at the age of 25, keeping him at the club until 2024 and the age of 31. Now, when an elite player signs a long-term deal at a club who is, let's just say, below their standards, you usually expect to see an exorbitant wage package or a contract with a relatively inexpensive release clause compared to their market value. An example of this would be Erling Haaland, who signed a 5-year deal when he joined Dortmund but had a £75 million release clause inserted into his contract that would become active in the summer of 2022. So you can see that it is wise for players who think they could move to a bigger club to have some sort of exit plan in their contract. However, Kane in the 2018 contract that was negotiated by his brother did not have a release clause at all, inserted into a 6-year contract. Kane's salary did increase from around £100,000 per week to around £200,000 per week, which is a jump of around £5.2 million a year to around £10.4 million per year. Now, whilst I see why Kane extended his contract because of the increase in salary, I can't understand how firstly there was no release clause in the contract or why it was a 6-year deal. Kane's contract before expired in 2022, which would have meant that he would have been a free agent at the end of this season, and Spurs would have likely been forced to sell him for around £50 million this summer. If I was Kane's agent in 2018, I would have told him to refuse to extend his contract beyond 2022 or sign a new deal with a weekly wage of at least £300,000 per week, considering he was the best striker in the Premier League at the time, and have a release clause of around £100 million inserted into the contract. Instead, that didn't happen, with Kane reportedly relying on a gentleman's agreement with Daniel Levy to allow him to leave, which essentially has ruled him out of moving to a bigger club, while simultaneously restricting the amount he can earn, as despite being on £200,000 per week, when you look at what the likes of Lukaku, Sancho and Pogba are earning, you would say that Kane is underpaid and should be earning at least £300,000 plus per week, given that he is still a world-class striker. Now a move away from Tottenham looks unlikely for Kane. Next summer he will still have 2 years left on his contract, meaning that Tottenham will still likely demand a fee in excess of £100 million, and with Kane turning 29 next summer, it's highly unlikely that any side decides to stump up that sort of money, considering the likes of Mbappe and Haaland will also be on the market. So overall, the signing of Kane's contract in 2018 has essentially kept him as a prisoner at White Hart Lane and wasted the full potential of his career. So thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, remember to subscribe to the channel, click the bell for notifications, give the video a like, download the Avali app and join me on Monday for the live stream, and go to the description to check out some of my other videos, and follow me on Instagram and Twitter for more content as well.